Throwaway, my husband cheated on me, and I don't know what to do. Hi everyone, I'm writing this on a throwaway account because I don't want anyone to know what I'm going through. I recently found out that my husband, David, has been cheating on me. We've been married for 8 years and I thought we were happy. I found out when I saw some texts from a woman named Rachel on his phone. They were flirtatious and it was clear they had been seeing each other for a few months. I confronted him and he admitted everything. He said it was a mistake, that he never meant to hurt me, and that he still loves me. But I can't get the images out of my mind. I feel so betrayed, so lost. I don't know if I can ever trust him again. I've been crying nonstop, barely eating or sleeping. My friends and family have been supportive, but they all have different advice. Some say I should leave him, others say I should try to work it out. I'm so confused and hurt. I don't know what to do. I just needed to get this off my chest. I'll keep you all updated. Update 1. Update trying to move forward. Hi everyone. Thank you for all your kind words and support. It means a lot to me during this difficult time. David and I have been talking a lot. He's been going to therapy and has been trying to make amends. He's been open about everything, answering all my questions, and has cut off all contact with Rachel. He seems genuinely remorseful and says he wants to do whatever it takes to fix our marriage. I've started therapy too, trying to process everything and figure out what I want. It's been really hard. Some days I feel like I can forgive him, and other days the pain feels too fresh. I keep replaying everything in my head, wondering what I did wrong, why I wasn't enough. We've decided to try marriage counseling. I don't know if it will work, but I feel like I owe it to myself and to our history to try. I still love him, and part of me wants to believe that we can get through this, but I'm also scared of getting hurt again. I'll let you all know how it goes. Thank you again for your support. Final update 1. Final update. Taking the first steps towards forgiveness. Hello everyone. I wanted to give you an update on what's been happening. David and I have been going to marriage counseling for a few months now. It hasn't been easy, and there have been many tears and difficult conversations, but slowly, we've been making progress. Our therapist has helped us communicate better and understand each other's feelings. David has been doing everything he can to regain my trust. He's been patient and understanding, giving me the space I need while still showing his commitment to our marriage. He's made significant changes, and I can see that he's genuinely trying to be a better person and husband. I've had to work on myself too, learning to cope with the betrayal and rebuilding my self-esteem. It's been a long and painful journey, but I've started to see a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm beginning to believe that forgiveness is possible and that we can create a new, stronger relationship. I've decided to take David back. It wasn't an easy decision, and I know it won't be smooth sailing from here. But I love him, and I want to give us a second chance. I've realized that forgiveness is a process, not a destination, and I'm willing to put in the work to heal and move forward. Thank you all for your support and encouragement. It's been a lifeline for me during this difficult time. I hope that sharing my story can help others who are going through similar experiences. Final update 2. Final update. Rebuilding together. Hello everyone. This will be my final update. It's been almost a year since I first found out about David's affair. Looking back, I can't believe how far we've come. We're still in marriage counseling, and it has made a world of difference. We've learned to communicate more openly and honestly, and we've grown closer as a result. David continues to show his commitment to our marriage every day. He's become more attentive, more loving, and more present. I can see the changes in him, and it gives me hope. I've learned to trust him again, little by little, and while the pain of his betrayal hasn't completely gone away, it's no longer the defining feature of our relationship. I've also grown stronger through this process. I've learned to value myself more, to set boundaries, and to communicate my needs and feelings. It's been a hard journey, but I'm proud of the progress I've made. We're not perfect, and we still have challenges to face, but I'm confident that we can face them together. Rebuilding trust and intimacy takes time, but we're committed to making it work. I'm glad I decided to give our marriage another chance. It wasn't an easy decision, but I believe it was the right one for us. Corky. Ada for wanting the autistic kid out of the classroom because he is a creep. First off, all sorry for my bad English. It's my third language. I, 16F. In high school, I'm going to an art school, and in my country, if a disabled kid comes to an art school and wants to attend, the principal has no right to refuse but to let the kid attend the school. We have this autistic kid, 16M. Let's call him Owen. For privacy reasons, they never told us what kind of autism he has or how much the scale of it. It all started in 9th grade. If the lesson is biology, he would start reading books loudly. He will be shouting while reading the book. Or if it's history, he would stand up and start walking in class, saying things like the devil baby or shouting no non-stop. I talked with every teacher I could talk, but no, it never helped. This year in 10th grade, we thought he will shut up maybe, But no, for context, I'm taking medication for ADHD and I'm a really aggressive person normally. We have big screens in class for lessons and we can use them in break time. In lunch break, we just thought it would be great to do just dance for fun. We were dancing and laughing when one of the boys in our class called our names, and we turned back to see Owen touching himself. I mean, he was scratching there inside of his jeans, but it was weird and we all felt uncomfortable about it. When we told this to principal, he just said we cannot do anything about it and it was our responsibility to babysit him. I made my research and special kids like Owen needs a shadow teacher to be with him 7/24. When I asked about it to our principal, she said that Owen's parents didn't want to hire that kind of teacher because they are still in denial. This kid is also very touchy with me, like when I stand up in class to solve a problem, he would also stand up and came closer until the teacher tells him to stop, or stands behind my desk when we are in class. I would like physical contact due to past trauma and I could snap at him any second. He throws metal pencil cases to us when he gets angry or just slap us. He opens music and doesn't let anyone close it and I'm starting to think I'm crazy for wanting him out of this classroom. We're the only 10th grade classroom having a special child BTW. When I told the class about my idea wanting him to transfer to another classroom, they all went out on me saying I was too selfish and I needed to understand him. But no, he fucking touched himself while we were dancing. Are you expecting me to respect a creep? So Reddit, I need an opinion from someone who doesn't go to my school or doesn't live in my country. Please help. Update. Okay, so as everyone suggested in the original post, I talked with my parents yesterday, not with them, only with my mom, but I told her that he was masturbating in class while looking at us and I didn't want it to think like he was creep, but his autism didn't mean he doesn't knows what he is doing and it makes me feel unsafe in my classroom and in Muse school, and school should be a place where I'm supposed to feel safe, not seeing people masturbating in class. I don't think I mentioned two important things in my first post. First one is I'm going to a private art school, which I'm paying for my education. And this kind of things, like some autistic kid throwing metal pencil cases to me or masturbating in class, is not what me and my family are paying for. The second thing is that kid doesn't knows how to speak our first language. Like I said, I'm not American or British and that kid can't even speak and he is in high school. I mean, it's ridiculous. Only words I heard from him is when he is shouting the devil baby AAA or his weird breathing noises. He can also say yes and no in English but not in our mother language, which is weird for me. When he talks, he sometimes calls us dumb or stupid and I wonder where he learned those words from because none in pure class uses that kind of language in front of him. Also, another thing I need to mention, he is a special needs student and he pays 60% less than what I pay to that school. Again, I'm not paying for getting assaulted in school. I mentioned this in the post, but I need to say again, those kind of students like him needs a special teacher to be around him 24/7. His parents are in denial, that's what I had told, and not willing to pay for a special teacher for him. He also doesn't take special education for people like him. Again, his parents are refusing to send him, so the only thing he is taking help about is some kind of medicine to keep him calm, which is I had never seen it work. So as I was saying, I told my mom about it and he was mad. To my surprise, he wasn't angry at me but to my school. Her eyes teared up and she started telling me that she would talk with school and after that she will talk with my uncle, a lawyer, about what to do in this situation. She was sad that I didn't told this to her when it happened and waited till the summer break. She was mad to herself because she didn't realize this kid would be so much trouble. They never told us there will be an autistic creep in our class when we first paid to school. But for now I'm searching for schools to change because I don't think even if that kid gets kicked out to another class I won't feel safe in that school. Thanks everyone who encouraged me to tell my mom about the situation, and I'll update as soon as school starts again. Edit, sorry for calling him vegetable. I was angry while writing the post and I'm also angry about the whole situation. I deleted that part due to lots of hate. Also about the first post, I called it a scratching because I didn't want it to accuse some kid about masturbating in class, but I sent the post to my classmates to make sure they weren't uncomfortable. And they said scratching was not the term for it and he was actually touching himself, so I just changed it now. Relevant comments. Prestigious_rub6504. I had a 12th grader with autism that did this. One of the boys pulled me aside and told me that student does this in class. I immediately had a private chat with this student. He had never been told that doing that is a private thing. I explained that masturbating is perfectly normal but that it can only be done at home, in privacy. I explained that if he does this in a college classroom or at the workplace, that he could be arrested for exposure. He never did it again. I'm truly sorry you had to witness that. As an educator, it really bothers me that some teachers and admin are too scared to have a serious and uncomfortable talk with students with autism. Some teachers just give them a free pass to say terrible things. Sometimes they're afraid the parents will sue the school. If we keep giving these kids a free pass, they'll never be able to hold a job. We never held them accountable. That student I mentioned before, he's graduated now and he comes back to visit me. He's doing pretty well and he's about to start college. Umbrella jump. You're doing right by him and should be proud of yourself. I think some parents, once there's a diagnosis, see their kid as forever being a child and think others will see them that way too, which obviously isn't the case. Most kids, regardless of any conditions, will be inappropriate in front of others at some point. But the parents of off-the-spectrum kids have more social pressure and fewer obstacles working with them to make it not be a thing again. On the spectrum, parents and kids have to repeat more, work more, and sometimes those parents cannot see that a grown body doing the same thing is very different to any kid doing it, because they don't see their kids as growing due to preconceptions about autism and other developmental conditions. Umbrella jump. Lamau, I will absolutely need a link to that. My late dad was definitely on the spectrum. My boyfriend of 6 years has Asperger's. He identifies with that term. Like, autistic people fuck. And lower functioning people still go through puberty and have sexual feelings. It's a big issue in the Down syndrome community as well, where people think that any intellectual effect must stymie the physical processes of hormones. So what's your opinion?
Hey everyone, I want to share my story about betrayal and forgiveness. A few months ago, I discovered my husband, David, was cheating on me with a woman named Rachel. We'd been married for 8 years and I was devastated. I confronted him, and he admitted everything, saying it was a mistake and that he still loved me. I was lost and didn't know what to do. We decided to try marriage counseling. It wasn't easy, but slowly, we started making progress. David cut off all contact with Rachel and did everything he could to regain my trust. I also went to therapy to heal myself. After months of hard work, I saw genuine change in David. He became more attentive, loving, and present. We learned to communicate better and understand each other's feelings. I decided to take him back, knowing that forgiveness is a process, not a destination. It's been almost a year now. We're still in counseling, and our relationship has grown stronger. Rebuilding trust takes time, but we're committed to making it work. I've learned to value myself more and communicate my needs. This journey has been incredibly challenging, but it's taught me the power of forgiveness and the importance of fighting for what matters. Thank you for listening. If you're going through something similar, remember that healing is possible. End of video. I hope this helps. If you need more details or a different approach, feel free to ask. Ida for being a Karen and essentially telling my daughter's camp counselor to know her place. My daughter G is 12 years old and is attending a coding and robotics day camp. She loves it and has made a lot of friends. Over the past couple weeks, she's become less enthusiastic about going to camp each day. I asked her what was wrong, but she was initially hesitant to say anything specific. I'd usually get a non-committal "I don't know" or something similar. A few days ago she broke down and told me that the camp counselor, CC, assigned to her group has been mean to her. I pressed her further, and from what I gather, the CC in question has criticized her work a great deal, forcefully kicked G's day bag when it was in her way without asking her to move it first, reprimands her for small things like talking too loud or having a messy workstation, while not doing the same for other campers, and, oddly enough, has been picking apart what she brings for lunch. I pack my daughter a homemade sandwich or wrap, a divided fruit and veggie tray, a small bag of chips, and a small dessert like a twin pack of Oreos. Pretty standard camp lunch, in my opinion. According to G, the CC has branded her meal unhealthy and said something about there being a camp policy against junk food. CC does not do this to any other kids, and I have found 0 rules against junk food in the online handbook parents were given. Obviously, this can't continue, so when I brought her in this morning I asked to speak to CC. I discussed my concerns, and CC told me that G was disruptive and that it's probably because she brings a bunch of junk food. I asked about CC kicking G's day bag and she was unable to give me a straight answer. I asked if any other counselors could confirm G's disruptive behavior and it seemed to fluster her. Again, no direct answer. By that point I was getting frustrated with her non-answers and asked why she had a problem with the lunches that I bring G. The more I asked, the more standoffish and condescending she seemed to get. CC said that I shouldn't be sending G with empty calories and reiterated her line about the camp having a rule against junk food. My tolerance for bullshit had pretty much been reached, so I told her calmly but firmly that I am her mother, not her. She is a camp counselor, not a nutritionist. She's there to make sure that G and the other kids have a fun and safe time, and I suggested that she stick to her role as a CC. I told her that if I hear anything more about G feeling picked on or unwelcome in her presence, that I will be speaking with her superior. I told a couple of friends about this to blow off some steam, and they told me that I was too harsh and that I acted like a Karen. I hadn't gone in looking for a fight, but the way CC spoke to me and about G really rubbed me the wrong way. Ida? Update. First of all, thank you to everyone who took time out of their day to provide a judgment and/or advice. G just got home from camp, and told me that she was cornered by CC and given a long-winded lecture. According to G, it lasted for about 20 minutes, in which CC half apologized but also spent most of that time justifying why she felt that way. Not only did CC needlessly take G aside from a beloved activity that I paid quite a pretty penny for her to participate in, for no good reason, but she's clearly not willing to lay off her strange hang-ups around my daughter. I was also told by G that plenty of other kids have junk food and even energy drinks, iced coffee in their lunches, but none have been given any grief about it. I'm currently fuming, so I plan to wait a few hours for the initial rage to subside before I write a firm email to the head of the camp. This is not the kind of experience that I wanted my daughter to have, especially not with a hobby that she could one day turn into a fulfilling career. I'll be damned if I let some barely out of high school teenage mean girl dim my daughter's shine or sour her passions. I'll be requesting that either G is moved to a different group and CC has no further interaction with her, or a full refund. Thankfully, it's the start of the weekend and there's no camp until Monday. We have annual passes to a local water park, and I think I'll surprise her with a little trip tomorrow to get both of our minds off this mess. My ex committed suicide and everyone is blaming me for it. I normally don't post serious personal stories about myself, but right now I feel like my life is falling apart and I have no one to talk. Me and my ex met at work, where we were both software engineers. We had a lot in common, and we quickly fell in love. She was the most beautiful, smart, and funny person I ever met, and I thought she was the one for me. We moved in together after 6 months of dating, and everything seemed perfect. But then her mental health issues started to bubble up. At first, I didn't notice anything wrong, but then I started to see the signs. She sometimes started crying for no reason or looked terrified, or refusing to communicate with me for days. She would lock herself in the bathroom or the bedroom, and I would hear her talking to someone, even though no one else was living with us. She would have nightmares and scream in her sleep, or wake up in a cold sweat. She would sometimes scratch her arms or legs until they bled, or pull out her hair. She would have mood swings, from being happy and loving to being angry and hateful. She would accuse me of cheating on her, or lying to her, or trying to hurt her. And when I asked her what was wrong, she never gave me a straightforward answer. She always insisted on hiding her true feelings from me, and I never understood why. I tried to be supportive and understanding, but it was hard. I didn't know how to deal with her mental health issues, and I felt helpless and frustrated. I talked with her several times that she should seek professional help, but she always denied needing help. She said she was fine, and that it was all in her head. She said she loved me, and that she didn't want to lose me. She said she was sorry for making me suffer, and that she would get better soon. But she never did. I was suffering too. I was depressed and anxious, and I couldn't focus on my work or my hobbies. I felt like I was walking on eggshells around her, trying not to trigger her episodes. I felt like I was losing myself, and losing her too. I felt like I couldn't make her happy, and I didn't feel happy either. We started to drift apart. We stopped having sex, or cuddling, or kissing. We stopped talking about our dreams, or our plans, or our feelings. We stopped laughing together, or having fun together, or enjoying each other's company. We became strangers living under the same roof. And then we broke up. It was the hardest decision of my life, but I felt like it was the only way out. I felt like we were both drowning in our misery, and we needed to save ourselves before it was too late. I told her that I loved her, but that I couldn't handle her mental health issues anymore. I told her that she needed help, but that I couldn't be the one to give it to her. I told her that we needed a break, but that maybe we could still be friends. She didn't take it well. She begged me not to leave her, saying that she couldn't live without me. She said that I was the only reason she was still alive, and that if I left her she would kill herself. She said that she hated me for breaking her heart, and that she would never forgive me for abandoning her. She said a lot of things that hurt me deeply. But I still left. I packed my bags and moved out of our apartment. It was the most painful thing I ever did, but I felt like it was the best thing for both of us. Maybe we could heal on our own. Maybe we could find happiness again. But we didn't. A couple of months after our breakup, I heard the devastating news. She killed herself. She overdosed on pills in our old apartment, where she still lived alone. She left a note saying that she loved me more than anything in the world, but that she couldn't bear the pain of losing me. She said that she hoped I would be happy without her, but that she doubted it. She said that she blamed me for everything that went wrong in her life, and that she hoped I would suffer as much as she did. She said a lot of things that broke my heart. And everyone else blamed me too. I was let go from my work, where she was a co-worker, and where everyone knew about our relationship. My boss said that I was a bad influence on the team, and that I was responsible for her death. My co-workers said that I was a monster, and that I deserved to rot in hell. They said that I was a rapist, and a liar, and a murderer. They said a lot of things that made me hate myself. I lost all of my friends. They all sided with her, saying that I was a jerk, and that I didn't care about her. They said that I was selfish, and cruel, and heartless. They said that I was the worst person they ever met, and that they wished they never knew me. They said a lot of things that made me feel alone. And I learned eventually what was going on behind my back. My sister contacted me a few days after my ex passed, telling me how a piece of shit I've been to my ex. She said that she saw her videos on Instagram, where she exposed me for the monster that I am. She said that she was disgusted by me, and that she wanted nothing to do with me. She said a lot of things that made me cry. Apparently my ex uploaded a bunch of videos on Instagram. I don't even have an Instagram account days before she passed, talking in details how she suffered because of me, and how I harassed and raped her several times, which I never did, and basically blaming her suicidal thoughts entirely on me. She said that she suffered from schizophrenia, which I never knew about, claiming that I stopped her from taking her meds. And apparently she was diagnosed with schizophrenia a long time before we even met, and only her mom knew about it, and I knew nothing at all about it or about her medication. She lied about everything. She lied to me, and to everyone else. She ruined my life with her lies. And now she's gone. And I'm still here. Currently I'm ostracized, depressed, alone and unemployed with suicidal thoughts of my own. And the best I can do is tell my story to a bunch of strangers on the internet. Maybe someone will believe me. Maybe someone will care. Maybe someone will help me. But probably not.
I hate my children and my wife. Today, I will leave my wife divorce and cut milligram children out of my life because I'm sick and tired of being treated like a check. I, 39M, have 2 kids, 20M and 17F, and a wife, 39F. I made a mistake early on in my wife by getting my then-girlfriend pregnant, and I was forced to man up at a young age, and to be honest, without the fortunate, wealthy lifestyle I had, I would have never survived. I won't deny it, I have spoiled my kids, which is probably a cause of this issue, but even though I was a busy man, I still tried to be a good father and I attended all my kids' sports events, but they never showed any gratitude back to me. I gave them my all for their birthdays and gave all the presents they wanted, but they still treat me like a wallet. For my eldest birthday, I bought him a Mustang, and I didn't receive a thanks or anything. Instead, he thanked his mother, who didn't contribute a dime to the car. I voiced my opinion to my kids and brought up the idea of therapy to help build a connection. But they just said I'm overreacting and they don't need it. Once again, not taking my feelings into account. On July 25th, I discovered my friend committed suicide as he found out his wife had an affair with his brother. And what does my wife do? She laughed with her friends about how she baby-trapped me all those years ago and was able to secure a good life without me figuring out. I just packed up my shit and left the house and decided the best option was to be radio silent. I initially didn't want to cut contact with my children, but for the whole month I've been gone, only my wife has been in contact and children haven't spoken to me once until last week, and that just confirmed my decision. We signed a prenup so she can't fuck me up in divorce proceedings. I apologize for this rant, but I just had enough.
Am I the jerk for refusing to financially help my family after they abandon me, even if it means they'll end up homeless, and I am now finally wealthy? I am my mother's oldest biological child. When I was 5 years old, my father passed away, and she remarried my stepdad when I was 8 years old. When I was 9, I was sent away to live with my father's sister, who lived states away because her husband didn't want me to live there anymore. They used to pay my aunt some money to watch me, but when I was 14 years old, that stopped. My aunt and uncle worked low-paying jobs and had 2 of their own children, so they really couldn't afford the extra expense of having me around without that help. Despite that, they let me stay and continue to treat me like one of their own. I very rarely saw my mom. I think I saw her maybe 5 times between the ages of 9 and 18. She never even called. She went on to have 3 more children, a son who is 19 now, a daughter who's 18, and a son who's 16 with my stepdad. Growing up, I used to talk to my siblings and parents on social media to see what their lives were like, and it was the polar opposite to mine. They regularly went on expensive vacations, lived in a massive house, owned the latest gadgets, etc. I went to college and I got married at 23 years old. My mother and siblings have no idea that I'm married. I'm currently 28 and doing well financially. My husband and I own our own house. We have several very profitable investments and work high-paying jobs. My cousins, a 30-year-old female, and a 27-year-old female and I all contribute to help my aunt and uncle to finally purchase their own home last year. Recently, my mom showed up to my aunt's house begging for financial help. Apparently, my stepdad suffered from a gambling addiction a few years ago and lost all of their savings. Now with the Rona, he's lost his job and they can't afford to keep their house without help. My aunt explained that she didn't have any money to help her, and when my mother demanded to know how she could afford her new house if she had no money, she explained what me and my cousins had done. My mom then asked for my number when she called me and explained the situation. I told her I couldn't help. She kept begging me and claimed my siblings would be made homeless if I didn't help them. I told her maybe she should sell some of their fancy stuff, or they could all get jobs just like me and my cousins had to. I hung up before she could reply. Since then, I have been receiving message after message from my mom, my siblings, and even my stepdad begging me for help. I've never spoken to my siblings in my life. They've begun harassing my husband and my sister-in-law. They've also reached out to my aunts and cousins multiple times, trying to get them to convince me to change my mind. I am so angry with them all. They threw me away, and when they needed something, they come crawling back. But the guilt is also starting to set in, and I don't know if I'm the one that's being the jerk. Am I? The OP here is in a lose-lose situation. If the OP is poor, then the parents and the family want nothing to do with GOP. When they find out that OP has money, then all of a sudden they want some of the money.
Update, am I wrong for not giving my cheating wife another chance? So my wife came home tonight, after giving me the day to cool off. I asked to see the guy. Why, maybe I'm a sucker for punishment. And of course he looks like a superhero. So that's great. Guy looks like Anthony Joshua or something. For the record, my wife is beautiful. Like perfect teeth, works out regularly, etc. I am not ugly, but I am just a typical English guy. Not overweight, but could probably lose a few pounds, bit of a dad bod, etc. Still have a full head of hair, which is nice. I always felt so lucky to be with her. She was an amazing partner, an amazing mother, funny, intelligent, etc. I asked her to lay out what happened to me in more detail. I wanted to catch any lies or changes in the story for test her consistency. She basically says she was at the bar and the guy was stood next to her. They glanced at each other, and she said, "Where did you come from?" to him. He asked what she meant, and she said he was the first handsome man she'd seen. And that's how the conversation got started. As for her telling him she was divorcing, that happened when he glanced down, noticed her ring, and asked her about it. Apparently once she said that he went on to say, "Not like I give a fuck either way." What a gent. I asked if she thinks he could have slipped her anything, and she says it's impossible, because they only did shots together. I asked if she took any drugs, and she admitted to doing coke with her friends, which isn't all that surprising. If you're from the UK and you're into drinking culture, it's pretty standard. A few of you seem to be American, so let me explain what exactly a Butlins is. It's basically a holiday resort, usually for families, but they sometimes host adult exclusive weekends where it's a pretty big party place. It's cheap and grimy and can be a lot of fun. People dress up, there's DJs, live music, multiple venues and late-night entertainment, etc. As for people saying she got caught by her friends, she actually didn't. She disappeared with the guy and went home with him. Texted her friends she was tired and wanted to go to sleep, and as they are on the resort and the hotel is like a 3-minute walk, they all just said to text when she was safe in her room. She was sharing a room with her sister, but she was in their other friend's room drinking and doing coke because they thought she was sleeping. She told the guy to leave at around 6 a.m. because she thought her sister might be coming back soon, as that's when the party usually winds down. I asked her how many times she had sex with the guy and she said 4 or 5, lasting between 5 to 10 minutes each time. Apparently even after cheating she never thought she'd sleep with the guy. She says she just wanted to give him oral, so she did that, but the guy said he could only finish through sex. She didn't believe him, until 20 minutes later he still wasn't done, so she gave up and climbed on top of him. But then after about 5 minutes she thought, "What the fuck am I doing?" and got off him. Then laid there and cuddled him and drank more, and then 10 minutes later they would be touching each other again. This repeated 4 or 5 times. She says that she kept thinking it was wrong, but then would think it's too late now anyway, so might as well carry on and basically go through a loop of that. I asked her why she felt the need to see if she still had it, and she says since she hit 30 she's been self-conscious of her aging. That when she spots a new wrinkle or something it drives her to tears. She said that chatting to the guy made her feel young again, and she latched onto that. Also apparently the guy was there with a girl, who my wife said looked like a younger version of herself, and the guy pointed her out to my wife and said that girl over there watching us has a crush on me and laughed about it. After he had been talking to my wife for like 30 minutes the girl had enough, walked over and kicked the table, spilling the guy's drink and then stormed off. She says that the guy picking her over a younger woman drove her ego crazy, and that was when she decided to kiss him. I asked her why she even told me, and she said that when she woke up, she saw I'd sent a selfie of me and our daughter eating pizza together, and it sent her into a nervous breakdown. That she was wailing and sobbing so loud it woke up her sister, and that's when she confessed. Her sister told her she was insane for what she did, and wasn't very comforting, and then left the room mad at her, which made it worse, and that's when she called me. I have asked her to leave the house for a few days, and she is staying at her mother's house while I decide what I want to do. She begged me not to make her leave, but she did when I said it was the least she could do after blowing up our entire lives over wrinkles making her sad. As for my mother, she still thinks I should forgive her. For context, my dad died about a year ago, and my wife has really been a rock for my mom. I cannot see her as much as I would like, due to my work, but my wife is a self-employed lash/nail tech and has a lot of free time, which she uses to spend with my mom, to keep her company, do her hair, and have girly days to try and make sure she doesn't get lonely. Like I said, she was such a perfect partner. No, I don't think my mom is a cheater or whatever, and she is very angry at my wife. But she loves her. And she just wants everything to be okay. My daughter has no idea what is happening. She was already asleep when my wife came and went again. She will just think mommy is still on holiday. I still have no idea what I'm going to do. Honestly, I'm still reeling, but that's basically everything.
I bought the house with her mother and paid it off in large part with her mother's life insurance 10 years ago, so it only seems fair. She says she's alright as long as she has her room and her bathroom and she's allowed to put a lock on her door. She has a toaster oven and a mini fridge in there, so I guess she's pretty well set up. Stacy will be giving up a room that she's currently using as a studio/project space. She does art, videos and voiceovers etc. So even her larger room will become a bit more cramped, and she'll definitely need the extra space she has. There will be a bedroom for Alice's girls, Stacy's old project room, and Alice's boys will be getting my son's old room. I'm going to be putting in a finished nursery/bedroom in the basement for our new daughter. Alice thinks that this is unfair. She thinks it was wrong of me to make the decision without her, and she also thinks that she should move her two daughters into Stacy's room, and that Stacy should have to move to the smaller room that they'll be getting. The two of them already share a smaller room than the one I'm moving them into as it is, so they are getting an upgrade regardless. Alice thinks that it's not fair for Stacy to have a bathroom all day herself and that there won't be enough bathrooms for everyone else. She also disapproves of Stacy being able to lock everyone out. There were other smaller things she didn't like that I agreed to with Stacy, like the fact that she is to be paid for any babysitting, or the fact that my older car, her mom's old car, is hers when she gets her driver's license. We'll have our own bathroom in the master bedroom, and the house has 3 other bathrooms besides, one on each floor, one near what will be her girl's room, one not far from what will be the boys' room, and one little basically be directly next to the new finished room. I told Alice that my deal with Stacy is non-negotiable, set in stone, and that it's literally a condition of her even moving in. Alice is upset that Stacy and I both have spaces completely dedicated to ourselves. I have my office, which I need because I work from home and have projects besides, and there aren't a whole lot of other spaces to put people. I told her she can pretty much do what she wants in the living room, but that it is what it is and there's pretty much nothing to be done about it. A bigger house is not an option. It's already a pretty big house, and housing is expensive. I told her that she's already getting a break by my only expecting her to contribute 15 or 20% to household bills. If we were doing it proportionally, it would be more like 25 to 30%. We keep separate finances, and we've agreed to a prenup. Alice just seems upset that I won't change the setup even though there's no real way to change it, and she's accused me of treating Stacy like a spoiled little princess and letting her be queen of the house. Frankly, my daughter comes first. She's lived here all her life, and I already know it's going to be a big adjustment having all these other kids move in. As much as I love Alice and as much as I want our relationship to work out, if it's a matter of choosing between the two of them, then my relationship with Alice is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I've told her that if she comes into this with wicked stepmother vibes, and that'll be the end of things. She thinks I'm being unreasonable. Update. I got a lot of eye-opening insight and advice from my post, so I feel it's worth giving everyone an update, especially considering developments. Alice and I had talked about marriage and children more or less in the abstract on many occasions, and we both wanted to get married, at some point, if things continued to work out, and I wanted to have more children, although this pregnancy was quite unexpected. It was Alice's pregnancy combined with the rent hike on her place that accelerated the timetable on things. For what it's worth, the rent hike is real. I've seen the paperwork. And I have literally no reason to suspect the baby is not mine. But yes, the only reason why we got engaged so recently is because Alice got pregnant. The only reason why Alice and her kids would be moving in with me so suddenly is because she was likely to need to move somewhere, and I'd obviously like to be responsible for, be near, raise my coming daughter. To me, it made sense for my daughter to live with me. I never wanted to be an absentee/part-time parent or to not have time or share space with my child. The circumstances all made sense, at least until now. I was definitely wary of Alice and paying more attention to her, especially after the many comments that I read. I came to Reddit to get a sanity check on whether or not I was being an asshole about my conditions with Stacy, not to try to actually make any kind of major life or relationship changes. But I didn't want to turn a blind eye either. It was Friday, and Stacy texted me, asking for her allowance. I was with Alice at the time, and I went ahead and let the subject come up. I give Stacy $100 a week. Alice thinks that this is crazy and excessive. She thinks it's improper, and she's brought it up as an example of how she thinks I'm raising Stacy like a spoiled princess. She said as much again when I told her I was sending Stacy her allowance, but this time Alice also asked if her kids would get the same allowance after we get married. I told her that someday our new daughter would probably get an allowance just like Stacy does, but that there was no way I had any plans of shelling out an extra $400 a week for her other kids. Alice got upset. She said that Stacy wastes my money on shoes and makeup. She has previously criticized Stacy for wearing fancy sneakers, high heels, and makeup, and she said that I was showing favoritism and that is a form of abuse. She complained about me letting Stacy buy things with my credit card and store my credit card on her phone when I don't even let Alice do that. She said that whatever money was going to go to the kids should be split evenly amongst them. When I shrugged and told her that that wasn't going to happen and that I wasn't going to cut Stacy's allowance, she snapped at me and said that a man living alone with his daughter and doting on her like I do is creepy and incestuous, and she said you've just replaced your dead wife with your daughter, and you need to stop. That was it. Sure. I've ignored a lot of red flags up till now, but that was it. She started trying to tell me about how it's unhealthy for me to be so close with Stacy and how she didn't want her kids to be neglected, and how she wanted to be treated as an equal if we were getting married, but I interrupted her and I told her that I don't think we should be getting married. I told her that I don't want her moving in and that we were going to need to work something else out. To be perfectly honest, my sister, my brother, and some of my friends have expressed some of the same misgivings about Alice that I've read, although they were generally a lot more gentle about it. I was in love with her. In fact, I'm still in love with her, and I wasn't seeing things clearly. I told her that I would always and definitely make sure that our child had a roof over her head, but that she was going to have to work something out for herself and her kids on her own. Obviously, we had a huge fight. She screamed at me. She called me a heartless bastard. She blamed Stacy for trying to sabotage our relationship. She guilt-tripped me about her cost of living and how I'm in an empty house all by myself. She also guilt-tripped me about the stress on the baby, and I actually do feel bad and worry about that. She eventually broke down crying and told me to leave. In the past 10 years, this was the first relationship with a woman I've had that became serious. I love her, and this hurts. It hurts a hell of a lot. I told Stacy that she didn't have to bother moving her stuff out of the other room, that Alice wasn't coming, and we hugged. She asked if this was her fault, and I told her no. I told her I honestly feel like marrying Alice would have been a mistake even if the two of them could have been best buddies. I always wanted to have a few more kids, and I've missed having a wife, but things don't always happen the way we want. So I'm pretty sure my relationship with Alice is effectively over, even if we're going to be raising a child together for the foreseeable future. My new daughter can have my son's old room whenever we work out whatever custody agreement we end up working out. I'm not sorry to be having another kid, even if I really wish the circumstances could be better. The red flags were always there. I guess it's better that I notice them now instead of later.
AITA for punching my ex's husband after he made a hurtful sexual comment about my daughter. My ex and I split up when my daughter Sarah, 14, was 4. My ex has been married to her husband Sean for almost 3 years. I have my daughter 4 days out of the week due to her mother's work schedule. I don't like Sean, he's always gave me a weird vibe. My daughter and I are very close. Sarah wanted to go to the movies with some friends, then to a friend's house, boys were going to be there. I told her to be on the lookout, and to call me if she got uncomfortable. This conversation went on while we were at her mom's, I was picking her up. Sean was in the room, and said, "Why are you worried? She don't even have boobs yet." My daughter is already self-conscious, and has asked me to buy her padded bras to fit in with her friends. Sarah went mute, and ran upstairs. I asked him why he would say that about a 14-year-old, he said he was saying the truth, and that she was safe from the boys. I just got filled with rage and my hands moved before I had a thought process, and punched him. My ex kicked me out, made me wait in the car for Sarah. Later that night my ex texted me saying I needed to apologize to Sean, he may have to go to the hospital because his nose is bruised pretty bad, and that Sean was only joking around and I let my temper get out of control. I just felt as though he was sexualizing my daughter and also put her down too, because it is something she is very self-conscious about it. Ida?
Ada for getting it elsewhere since my wife didn't want to have sex anymore? A few months ago I posted for relationship advice on another sub. Basically my wife has decided unilaterally that we are done having sex. She found out that she cannot have kids due to a choice she made before we met. And kids, apparently, are the only reason she was willing to have sex. I love my wife and I enjoy being intimate with her. But it was making our marriage untenable after 2 years of this. So I posted for advice. I got a lot of great support and suggestions about how to talk to my wife. I tried a lot of it. I started going for counseling for myself as well. But no matter how I approached her about our situation, she would not try and see it from my point of view. Every discussion would end with her crying and screaming in my face that I am trying to emotionally manipulate her. I then wrote her a letter outlining my feelings and asking her to come with me for counseling, to seek it for herself, perhaps to go see a doctor. I was kind and loving in the letter. The last thing I wanted to do was set her off. I worked on the wording with my counselor to make sure I wasn't saying anything aggressive that could be misinterpreted. She read the letter. Then she scrawled across it with her red Sharpie. "Go get it elsewhere because you are not getting it from me." Then she walked out. I sat there for about an hour doing nothing. Then I told myself that was what I was going to do. We are both fairly successful in our jobs. I'm not super attractive, but I'm fit and a good talker. It took a while, but I met someone. We started out as just friends, but it became physical. I made sure she knew I was married. She is not interested in a relationship, so I guess I am a safe option for her. My wife found out because I did not try and hide it. She was crying when I got home one night. When I came in, she asked if I was going to leave her. I said no. She asked if I was cheating on her and I said I was getting sex elsewhere. She said that was cheating and I did not disagree. I asked her what she wanted to do. She said I had to stop. I asked her if we were going to start having sex. She said I was an irrational asshole if I thought that she would have sex with me after I cheated. I went to my desk and pulled out a photocopy of the letter I wrote with her answer in it. I went to have a shower and go to my room to sleep. When I woke up, she was sitting on the couch waiting to talk. She said that she reread the letter and that she realized she had not before. She assumed it was just a letter begging for sex. She said she would go for counseling alone and with me. All I had to do was stop having sex elsewhere. I said I would be willing to pause my friendship until we saw a counselor. And that if I saw progress in our relationship, I would break it off. She said she would not agree to counseling without me leaving the other woman. It almost turned into a fight, so I just went for my run. Before I left, I asked her what would compel her to go to counseling if I stopped having sex elsewhere. When I got back, she still did not have an answer. She couldn't even say that our relationship was worth saving. I don't want a divorce. But I am willing to leave over this. I am 28. I am not going the rest of my life without sex. She refuses to see my side.
Choosing beggars steal from you and then expect you to pay them for it. To offer a little context, I'm 22, female, and in 2018 college grad working a pretty junior position in the university student finance department. The department is pretty small, about a dozen people, including myself. My job is comprised of pretty menial tasks, data entry, responding to query emails, that sort of thing. Special enough to have my own desk, but only a small step above copy order taking intern. And by God, the way this choosing beggar has treated me since I started the job in September, you'd think I was the unpaid intern. Choosing beggar as a woman and probably her late 40s, early 50s. May I speak to the manager? Haircut, super tall and skinny, a face like there's a bad smell under her nose all the time. She constantly and condescendingly refers to me as love or sweetie. But I honestly just think she doesn't know my name. I'm always friendly to her, but she still treats me like I don't know someone's teenage daughter come for work experience or something. Thursday last week, choosing beggar approaches me at the kitchen table. Basically just a table at the back of the office where we have a mini fridge, kettle, microwave, etc. She puts her hand on my shoulder and fixes me with the tightest, fakest smile. Hey, sweetie. I just thought I'd let you know you're out of hand cream. I frown, completely confused. I don't keep hand cream on my desk, and even if I did, I don't recall ever giving her permission to use it. Sorry, choosing beggar. I don't know what you mean. Again, that smile. The cream you keep in your desk. The Chinese one. My stomach drops. I know exactly what she's talking about. For my birthday in November, my Japanese friend we met on a language exchange app sent me a box of goodies, including this really nice, really expensive hand cream that you can only get in Japan. I've been keeping it in my desk as the office is air-conditioned, and my hands get quite dry while I work. That cream is a godsend. But since the end of January, the air conditioner has been out, so I've not been using it, wanting to save it up for when the air conditioning gets fixed, and I really need it. It's also in a really solid tube, so it's nearly impossible to tell that it's been used without picking it up to feel how much is left. The cream in my desk drawer. The pink one? Yeah, it's empty. Can you get some more? I am horrified. This lady has been helping herself to my things out of my desk when I've been out of my seat. I truly don't know how to respond. Why were you going through my desk? She straightens her back a little like this. It's not locked. It's not like anything in there is private, but it's where I keep my personal belongings. It's like if I went through your handbag without permission, that's completely different. She says her tone is significantly less friendly. Can you please just get some more hand cream? I'd been so distracted by the thought of choosing beggar going through my desk, I'd totally forgotten the main point. No, it's from Japan, and it's expensive. I can try and find it online and give you the link to order it, but I'm not getting more so that you can use it. Well, if you're going to replace it anyway, we might as well share it. You didn't even notice I was using it until I told you. Huh? I knew this woman had a superiority complex, but this is unreasonable. She wants me to replace it so that she can keep using it. The absolute audacity of this woman. I said no. I've got every mind to ask you to reimburse me. I barely used it, and now it's empty. You used nearly the whole bottle, but you weren't using it. That's not the point. Choosing beggar. For the first time in the conversation, I raised my voice, getting the attention of some of my colleagues. It wasn't yours to use, especially not without permission. I won't ask you to reimburse me because I can already tell you. I'll say no. I'll replace it myself. But keep the heck out of my desk. Did you not learn that in preschool? She bristles and quickly notices that people are staring. She's not too well liked in the office anyway, so I could see the cogs begin to turn as she works out. How she can turn this onto me. Sweetie, that cream has changed my life, she says in this big, gentle voice. It's healed my eczema. It might come back if I don't keep using it. Okay, good for you. So order some for yourself. Just stay out of my things. Before she could respond, I just walked away with my now lukewarm coffee. I ordered a new hand cream that night and considered sending her a PayPal invoice for it. But I thought that, as the first one was a gift, I wasn't technically out of pocket. I just felt sorry that my friend's present had gone to waste. Fast forward 8 days to yesterday, choosing bigger turns from the mini fridge with a death glare, and announces to the office, "Somebody eat my yogurt." No response. Everyone kind of glosses over her BS at this point. She fake clears her throat. Him. "Somebody has eaten my probiotic yogurts." Then a voice, My hero. A guy in the office we'll call Dave. He's 6'4" average build with a huge dark beard and glasses. Kind of like a bear. Stoic, quiet, keeps to himself. Well, you weren't eating it. Choosing beggar's face twists into the tightest glare I have ever seen. Excuse me, you didn't even notice it was gone. It must have been okay for someone else to take it since you weren't eating it. There's a few small snorts of laughter. I'm holding my breath to keep myself from bursting out in hysterics. What kind of backwards logic is another coworker, also male? He speaks in a crude imitation of a woman's voice. Fake. Sincere. Sweetie. That probiotic yogurt changed my life. It healed my eczema. The whole office begins to laugh. Choosing beggar's face goes bright red and her mouth starts twitching at the corners like she wants to either cry or yell. But she doesn't have a foot to stand on. She went out for lunch and didn't come back. We heard later in the day that she'd called out sick. When I got home in the evening, I found an email letting me know she'd pay about me some money for the hand cream without a message. It'd only cover the cost of the actual cream, not shipping. But I was grateful. I was just an intern in her eyes, so I could never have convinced her to pay me. But to have her equal colleagues on my side to shame her like that was more than enough. I am so grateful to them. They can use my hand cream anytime they like. Well, fear not, OP. Not only do you have 2 coworkers on your side, but if you find this story and you scroll down, you should see about 500,000 to 100,000 or more other people who are on your side. Let me speak on behalf of my subscribers. When I say we are so glad you got petty revenge against that entire battle, that choosing beggar.
I for considering what my Mael did assault and pouring a milkshake on her as a reaction. My MIL and I don't get along. I know she doesn't approve, but thankfully my husband is on my side. We recently saw his side of the family for an outing and ended up eating at a hot chicken place. Maya likes food really hot. She usually gets things as hot as they can make them and then says they could be hotter. Her fave meals are ones she seems to be struggling to swallow. You get the picture. I'm a baby when it comes to spice, and MIL seems to judge me as being picky. At the restaurant, you had the option of picking your spice level, so I picked light mild, and she picked Reaper. While we were eating, I bit into a tender, and my mouth exploded. It was one of the worst pains of my life, and I began yelling for water, which was embarrassing since we were in public. My husband couldn't figure out what was wrong, but I saw his stepdad and aunt smirking at each other, and MIL looking pleased with herself. When I could finally speak, I said, "I know you did it," and she admitted to switching one of our tenders. My husband began screaming at her, and I saw red. I said what she did was assault, and if she ever fucked with me again, I'd call the cops. I said, I'm not here for her amusement, but because her son loves me. And then I was like, oh, so you like pranks, and poured a vanilla milkshake on her. Mael had no reaction to getting doused in a milkshake, but to be fair, she has almost no reaction to anything ever. I probably could have socked her and she wouldn't have reacted. There was a lot of laughter from the table, but after the fact, I heard some people felt I went too far or that I'm crazy. What's your opinion? Write a comment. Aita for threatening my family after they insulted my wife in front of my face. So, I'm 22A. My wife is 21F. We have been together since childhood. We have been dating since I was 17. Problem is, she met with an accident when she was 11, and since then she couldn't walk. We are working on it, but it isn't promising at all. So we got married 8 months ago. My family and hers and our friends all joined us. My family criticized me for marrying so early and being rash. I have 2 elder brothers, they are 2 years apart, and 1 elder sister who's 4 years older than me. They attended my wedding and I thought they accepted her, but a few days ago, we had a family dinner, 'cause finally my eldest sister was going to get married. Everything is going good. We joked around, drank, ate, danced, etc., etc. My wife was sleepy, so I took her upstairs and put her to sleep. She can't handle alcohol at all. I came downstairs, and after a while, out of nowhere, my sister said that it's better if my wife is not present in her wedding. I thought it was a joke, so I laughed. She said she was serious. I asked her why. She simply said that she want me to be beside her and not carry my wife around. I was like, what? She's not a burden, she's family, and I told her that. She said after that, she accepts my wife. But I will end up paying too much attention my wife, instead of being with her. And it's only reasonable that a brother should always be with her sister during her wedding. I just said I will always be with her. She doesn't have to worry about my wife. That's when my brothers came in. They said that I have done enough for my wife, and it's time for me to do something for my sister. They said I should have married another woman instead of a burden. I looked at my dad, and he just gave me a sign to calm down. But my mother joined as well and told me that my siblings are right. My wife shouldn't join the wedding because I won't pay attention to my siblings and wedding and keep taking care of my wife. I finally lost my cool. After hearing all this, I went sober. I said, if my wife is not invited, then I'm not invited either. I said I'm leaving as I was going upstairs to wake my wife up and leaving. My family stopped me and said I'm being unreasonable. I said I'm not in the mood and if I hear another offensive word, I'll do something we all will regret. So I just grabbed my wife and went back to home. She asked why we left. I said I got urgent work in the morning. My boss called me on short notice. She bought it, but my family keeps saying I was in the wrong for threatening them. So Ita, for the way I reacted?
Got told to F off by my assignment group, and that's just what I did. I do a computer science degree at university. We had a group work project which is set out in 2 stages. Part A involved making an application and writing a report about it, 50-50th split. Part B, we got feedback from Part A and had to improve upon it. In total, it was 100% of a module. It is also important to note that there is a group contribution report GCR, where each student puts in how much they think each student has done. I was in a randomly selected group with 4 others. We each picked a parts of the work that we wanted to do. I was apparently the group's most confident coder, so assigned myself about half of the code, and finish up my work in about the first 3 weeks, and work on other projects I have for other modules. Then soon after I finished my work, the others asked me if I can do their parts of the code too. I initially protest as I have my other coursework due, but eventually I say fine, but so long as it is noted in the GCR, they all agree. I sweat it out over the next 3 weeks or so alongside my other coursework. I contacted my module organizer explaining that I had done half the work, and they suggested if people weren't pulling their weight to leave the group, taking my code with me and do the report. That would mean I would need to work flat out to produce the report and probably would mess it up. I didn't want that. The deadline was in about a week, and I honestly, ICBA. Then I got asked to do some report too because they didn't understand how the code worked. By this point, I felt pretty used by them. Didn't really mind so long as I got the marks. All in all, I worked out that I had done the workload of 3 people. There was talk amongst the others of all writing that we each contributed 20% of the workload to make us look better as a team. I flatly refused. They exploded, calling me with every name under the sun, swearing at me, telling me to F off. I sent off my GCR with 60 for me and 10 each for the rest, and thought that was that. My module organizer then emailed me asking if I had any proof of this, as they all put me at 0% and themselves at 25%. I'd worked my ass off on this project, putting in 150 hours on the code and another 50 on the diagrams and report, all while attending lectures 20 hours a week, over 7 weeks, which if you do that maths averages at an extra 4 hours a day. On top of all my other assignments and commitments, etc. There was no way I was letting it slide. I emailed him back, linking him to the GitHub I used to share the code with the team. GitHub is a source control that shows who made changes to the code, and showed him that all the commits version of the code were done by me, proving that I did all of it. And thankfully we did the whole report on Google Drive, so I could also see the history on that document and send him screenshots of all the alterations made by me, proving that I wrote 20% of the report also. He added it all up and made a special exception for my group, saying he would give me most credit for the work. I think I ended up with a 65, and they all get 11 for the whole coursework part A. They would need 69% to even pass the module. So turned out I fucked up a bit on the code, only getting about 50% of the marks with like a massive issue in it. Dumb me. For anyone interested, I didn't make a MVC structure correctly. But my report sections were near perfect. Spelling mistakes, a common thing I do, and formatting, etc. There were a few glaring mistakes from the report that they had written, but other than that, not bad. When they found out their marks, they started calling me up and emailing me and messaging me almost for about 3 hours. I was happily out at the time and didn't have my phone with me, so didn't respond. My module organizer sent an email explaining that they had lied and he had proof about it, so corrected the marks according. When I got back to my phone, I screenshot all the messages they had sent and recorded all the voicemails, including the ones they had sent previously, including multiple occasions where everyone in the group told me to F off, and F off I did. I sent all these voicemails and screenshots to my module organizer requesting that I leave my group and understand that it is more work for me, but I'd rather not deal with that. He agreed and also escalated the messages to someone higher up. At this point, I quit the group and decided to work on Part B by myself, taking all of my code with me, removing Theor access to all of it. I, of course, asked my module organizer first, and they said it was fine as it was my work, and if I was no longer in Theor group, the others couldn't submit it. I fixed the error in the code in about 2 weeks. Then, did the whole report from scratch almost, and added a load about the fix, taking me about 7 weeks. I then get messages from the group to please come back. We really need you kind of stuff on the end, few days of the assignment. They even offered to pay me. I screenshot it and send it to the module organizer just to let him know what is happening and then just ignore them. I ended up submitting 2 weeks early for the deadline and got 100% on the whole section too, which is basically unheard at university, especially by yourself for group work. Later that day, I get an email from a plagiarism and collusion officer. Not someone you ever want to get an email from. Basically says I'm summoned to a hearing as an external body looked at both my group, me, myself, and I, and my old group's coursework and thought it was very similar. I get the whole project that my group handed in and my own back as evidence so I can look and prepare my answer to their questions. I email my module organizer, ask if he supports me in this because basically they can punish all of you or one group, never nobody. He says yes, he supports me in this. Perfect. I prepare for this meeting by going through the hundreds of commits I have made, while they had access to find the one that is most similar to it. I find a perfect match. 0 differences. Not even a single character. Through the thousands of lines of code. So I turn up to this meeting, there is the VP of computing there, guy who could basically do whatever the hell he wants to us. My old group, when asked to present their answer as to why this has happened, go on about how they did all of it by themselves, blah blah. You get the point. This goes on for about 10 minutes. Then I am asked to present my argument. I ask if I can share my screen. VP, yeah, okay, puzzled. So I share it. Show all the screenshots I took as some of the people in the meeting weren't aware that we knew each other, including them basically begging for me to come back offering money to. And as if this wasn't enough to convince them, I then showed me downloading a fresh version of what they submitted, and a fresh version of one of my commits on the GitHub, and running it through a trusted comparison software. I narrated this to explain what I was doing just to be clear. Took a while, but came up as I knew it with 0 differences. Everyone was stunned. One of the group members uttered, but I just laughed, and was quickly asked to hang up as I was no longer involved. Turned out they had cloned one of my commits and still had a copy on their laptop when I blocked their access, not been able to fix it at all. So just submitted it and hoped for the best. One of my friends, who is friends with one from my old group, asked what grade they got, and they said that they failed the whole module as they got a 0 for the second section, giving them just 5.5% overall for the module. You need 40 to pass, and would have to retake it over the summer, costing them and everyone in my old group their placement year jobs. After all, who wants someone who failed a module so badly and who was intellectually dishonest working for them? This meant that they all lost out on being paid $20K each for the year's work, which goes a long way for a uni student, while I happily get mine.